Have you ever made a decision that you later regretted? Maybe you stayed in a bad relationship for too long, or you kept working on a project that was clearly not going to succeed. If so, you may have fallen victim to the sunk cost fallacy. Earlier this week I went to the movies, and the movie was a disaster. About an hour into it, I leaned over to my wife and whispered, "Let's head home." She quickly responded, "Absolutely not. We can't just throw away $30. I argued back, "That's not a valid reason to stay. It's the sunk cost fallacy at play, an error in our thinking." She shot me a sharp glance, as if she had just tasted something sour like a lemon. Admittedly, I sometimes get carried away discussing this topic, which is known as deformation professional. Whether we stay or leave, we've already spent the $30, so it shouldn't influence our decision, I desperately tried to clarify. Nevertheless, in the end, I gave in and settled back into my seat. The following day, I found myself in a marketing meeting. Our advertising campaign had been running for 4 months without meeting any of its goals. I strongly advocated for scrapping it. However, the advertising manager resisted, saying, "We've invested so much money in it. If we stop now, it'll all have been in vain." Another casualty of the sunk cost fallacy. A friend of mine struggled for years in a troubled relationship. His girlfriend repeatedly cheated on him. Each time, she would return full of remorse, begging for forgiveness. He explained his rationale to me, saying, "I've invested so much time and energy into this relationship, it would be wrong to just throw it away." Another classic example of the sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy becomes most perilous when we have invested significant amounts of time, money, energy, or love into something. This investment becomes a justification to persist, even in the face of a lost cause. The more we invest, the greater the sunk costs, and the stronger the urge to continue becomes. Investors often fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy. They frequently base their trading decisions on the acquisition price. They often say, "I've lost so much money with this stock, I can't sell it now." This line of thinking is irrational. The acquisition price should hold no sway. What truly matters is the stock's future performance, as well as the future performance of alternative investments. Ironically, the more money a share loses, the more inclined investors are to hold on to it. This irrational behavior stems from a desire for consistency. Consistency is seen as a mark of credibility, while contradictions are frowned upon. Canceling a project halfway through creates a contradiction. It means admitting that our previous judgment was flawed. Continuing with a meaningless project postpones this painful realization and maintains appearances. Concord serves as a prime example of a government project marred by financial deficits. Even though both Britain and France had long known that the supersonic aircraft industry was bound to fail, they persisted in pouring enormous sums of money into it, simply to save face. Abandoning the project would have been akin to admitting defeat. This phenomenon is often referred to as the Concord Effect, an illustration of the sunk cost fallacy that leads to costly, and sometimes disastrous, errors in judgment. The Americans prolonged their involvement in the Vietnam War due to the same reasoning, and they told themselves, "We've sacrificed so much for this war already, it would be a mistake to give up now." Have you ever thought something like, "We've come this far, we might as well. I've already read so much of this book. I've spent 2 years on this course." If any of these thought patterns resonate with you, it indicates that the sunk cost fallacy is lurking in a corner of your mind. Certainly, there can be valid reasons for continuing to invest in something to see it through to the end. However, beware of doing so for the wrong reasons, such as justifying irrecoverable investments. Rational decision-making requires you to disregard the costs incurred thus far. Regardless of how much you have already invested, only your assessment of the future costs and benefits should matter. The sunk cost fallacy is a cognitive bias that causes us to continue investing in something that is not working, simply because we have already invested a lot of time, money, or effort into it. This can lead to costly mistakes, so it is important to be aware of this bias and to avoid making decisions based on it.